Aside from your box, the supplies you're going to need are a ruler and your pencil. Now obviously we know our logo is eventually going to be a 3D form, but first we're going to start by drawing the two-dimensional shape of our logo. This is most likely going to be just the design you originally drew when we sketched our logos the first day. And if you remember, I drew a P and a B connected. For the sake of time right now, I'm just going to make the letter P. We want to make sure that we have as much cardboard to work with as possible, so when you draw your shape, put it as far to one corner as you can. If your shape has any straight edges, you are definitely going to want to use a ruler. Otherwise, when you go to fit all your different shapes together, they won't match up and you'll have to start from scratch. You're also going to want to consider the size of your box and the size of your shape. If you have a larger box to work with, you can make your shape a little bigger. If you're working with a smaller box, make your shape smaller. Cut out your shape as carefully as you can. Make sure you stay right on the lines that you drew. This way all your pieces will fit together well at the end. When we're creating our second shape, we want to still keep in mind we want to use the least amount of space as possible. So I'm drawing mine right next to where I made my first shape. And then once you have your shape traced, you can cut it out. So now I should have two identical shapes. For me, they're both the letter P. So in order to create these new shapes, I'm going to first need to use the length of my first letter P. I'm lining the letter P up with an already created edge and making a mark at the bottom so I know exactly how long my new shape needs to be. Now I'm going to use the width part of the bottom of my letter P so I know how wide my new shape needs to be. I'm going to use a ruler just to make sure this line is straight. So we made this rectangle by using the length and the width of the shape we had already created. So this rectangle is going to be what connects the two P's. I'm going to line up this new rectangle with the sides of both of my P's just to make sure that the length is just right and I made the line straight enough. Now what I'm going to do is tape this rectangle next to both of these letter P's. And because I haven't created all of my extra shapes yet, I'm just going to do this so that everything can still lay flat. Make sure you use multiple pieces of tape so that the shapes stay securely together. So you can see eventually there's going to be a corner here, and this is going to be folded over. But for now, like I said, we're going to keep the shapes flat because we still have a few more pieces to make. I'm using the edge of my ruler to make sure that all of my shapes line up evenly so it'll stand perfectly flat. So we can see I'm still missing a few shapes before my form is complete. So right now what I'm going to do is make the square that's going to go on the very bottom of my letter P. So I'm going to use my first shape and measure the length right here. And then I'm going to measure the length of this middle side so I know how long and how wide my bottom shape needs to be. Just like with the last rectangle I made, I'm going to cut this new one out and tape it onto the bottom of my letter where it'll eventually stand. So if I fold all of my sides up, I can see I'm still missing just one or two pieces. Next, I'm going to make this portion of the letter down here. So once again, I'm going to need to measure the length and the width of my letter P to create this new shape. So once again, I'm going to tape this new rectangle where it needs to go next to my other shapes. Now if I fold all of my pieces up, where they would be eventually if I tape them all down, I can see that I'm only missing pretty much one more shape, and that would be the curve along the top of my letter. So far I've been pretty lucky in that I've only had to make rectangles, everything with a straight edge, but for shapes that are curved we can either use a piece of string or a flexible piece of cardboard from our box. What we're going to do is take this piece of cardboard, again, or you can use a string, and put it right up against the curve of our shape. And again, we want to make sure it's right up against the curve, and we're going to measure the length this cardboard needs to be. So my piece that I was using is only a tiny bit too long, so I cut off just that little excess piece. So this strip of cardboard I just cut tells us the length of the piece, but now we want to know how wide it needs to be. And this width is going to be the same as the bottom of my P. So I'm going to use this piece of cardboard, and I'm going to measure out the length with this strip I just cut out, and the width according to the bottom of the letters I already have. So here we go. We can draw the width of the shape right here, according to the bottom of our letter. Then I'm going to use this strip of cardboard I just cut earlier to measure the length of this new shape. So I'm going to make a mark at the top of this rectangle, and I already went at the bottom. Then I'm going to use my ruler to make sure that this line I draw is straight. So the final step for now is to fold up all of these shapes, all of these sides, and tape them down so you have one 3D form. Then make sure you use enough tape so that your form doesn't fall apart by tomorrow. So here's my completed form.